Hello and welcome to Homegrown Daisy, the podcast where we dive into significant moments in our guests' lives and the jewellery that carried them through it. Today, I have podcaster, writer, MQ ambassador, Daisy London lover, Gemma Styles.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming. Finally, we spoke about this actually. When did we meet? It was back in the summer.
Yeah, it must have been. I feel like this year's gone so quickly, like more than any other.
Don't.
I actually just feel like the older I get, I'm like, oh, isn't this year fast? And it just keeps on speeding up.
I know. Do you remember, like, our parents used to say that? It goes so fast. You're like, Mum, shut up. But it genuinely does. I can't believe we're in November and we're actually in Christmas.
Oh, God, don't. I can't. It's too soon. Too soon.
It really is. My daughter literally this morning said, when are we going to have our Christmas decorations up? No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We never
Back
did ours
off.
particularly early because my birthday's not till the 3rd of December.
Ah, you're a December.
So we just never put Christmas decorations
Until
up
after your
until after
birthday.
my birthday. So I'm like, no, I've got time. It's fine. It's all good.
So what star sign does that make you?
Sagittarius.
Okay. What's the Sagittarius trait? Your
Well,
key traits?
I never feel like I connect with it that much, to be honest, because it's very meant to be about like loving travel, hates being pinned down, quite sort of fiery, and I'm like, I don't really feel like that's very me. Like, I like stability, but I don't know if that's just because I'm a very anxious Sagittarius. I think it kind of takes over a little bit.
Really?
I was talking to someone about this last year because I don't really know a lot about that kind of thing, to be honest, like about star signs very much. But I was talking to someone on another podcast who's really into it, and she was actually saying, "What's your moon sign?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." She was like, "Go away and look it up." And I bet you're a water sign. I would bet money on it.
And you are?
And yeah, I'm a Cancer moon, so very watery inside.
Yes.
Which makes a lot more sense.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Well, we're not here to talk about zodiacs. We're here to talk about jewellery. But I'm always interested about zodiac star signs because I actually was never into it until I had kids. And I Googled how to deal with a Scorpio toddler because she's mental.
And did it help?
Yeah, it gave me loads of advice.
Oh, great.
And now I'm quite interested in it. But Gemma, I've asked you to bring in your significant piece of jewellery. So we're going to dive into those later. And also at the end of this episode, we're going to reveal a discount code where people can get 20% off an edit that you're going to choose. So stay tuned. So I know you've been a fan of Daisy for a while because you have the Estee Lalonde T-bar necklace.
I do.
And I remember the team and I, we were looking, we're like, Gemma's wearing our necklace. How's Gemma Styles got our necklace? This is amazing. And we're trying to figure it out. How did you, because we didn't gift it to you, did you? I think it was a gift from someone bought you that gift, didn't they?
Yeah, I remember when we've ended up talking about this before, and I honestly couldn't remember because I've had it for, well, I felt like I'd had it for a really long time. But actually we were talking, weren't we, about, I think the maximum I could have had it was it 4 years
4
ago,
years,
I think.
yeah.
So, but I think I've had it that long.
That's so cool.
And I think it might have been a stylist on a shoot or something. I sort of put it on me, and then I was like, oh, this is really nice. And then she was like, just keep it, take it home, which was lovely.
And you literally wear it most days.
Yeah, I do. I wear it all the time, which typically I haven't got it on today because I was concentrating so much on like stacking as many significant pieces of jewellery on me. I was jangling as I walked through the house, which I thought was probably not ideal for a podcast sound
Fine,
recording.
it's nice, ASMR.
But yeah, it's such a great layering piece, and it's a really good layering shape, I feel like. 'Cause there's a lot of round pendants, like, and I have a lot of rounder kind of necklaces that I wear, so having something that's line and kind of like a bit chunky, a bit more square, I quite like to break it up with. It really is.
It's a vintage classic, the T-bar. Let's talk about your podcast, Good Influence, which you've just finished, or the last episode in series 3 has just gone out, right?
Yeah, series 3 is all out now, so yeah, that's, what must that be altogether? I think we've done 3 seasons of 12 now, so it's ended up actually being, but we've got quite a nice bank of episodes now, which it's quite nice to actually go back over. Because I think it was, I actually don't know which date this is going out, but in real life terms of me today, I think it was last week, I realised it had been 2 years since the first episode has gone out. So yeah, that time has gone really quickly. What
made you decide to start the podcast?
I mean, I started it in lockdown, like so many podcasts, and I think it's partly just kind of another way to connect with people at that time, because I think by when did it launch? By November of that year, obviously we spent sort of the best part of the year inside seeing very few people. So I think there really was quite an instinct that a lot of people had to find new ways to connect with people. But it was also a bit of a reaction to conversations on social media in general. One, because there were a lot of important things that needed talking about and that I felt like there was an appetite people wanted to talk about. But also because, you know, an Instagram comment section, for example, like isn't always the best place to facilitate the kind of longer conversations. And it was quite important to me from the beginning. So as part of each podcast episode, I'll put out on social media beforehand to say which guest I've got coming up to record with, so people can send in their questions for the guest as well. Which I really like doing, because I think it's partly just a really good way. Like I've had some great experts in different subjects on different episodes, and just really interesting people. And I think it's a good opportunity to kind of directly ask questions of people where maybe you wouldn't be able to all the time. Maybe that's because, you know, social media is really busy and really loud, and you might just not rise above the noise of it. And partly I like doing that just because, obviously, as much as I'm trying to cover a lot of different perspectives, I'm the one asking the majority of the questions, and I'm asking those questions from my perspective and my lived experience, which is obviously of one person who has a lot of privileges. And, you know, it's nice to be able to bring in different questions. And sometimes, I definitely read those emails and messages people send in, and I'm like, oh, I would not have thought to ask that. And that's a great question.
And does that then dictate the theme for the podcast for each episode, the questions that come in from the audience? Or do you kind of already have, knowing the guests that's coming on, do you kind of already have the topic and theme?
I've usually got a good idea of what we're going to be talking about, because so kind of the idea of the podcast Good Influence is having guests on who are a good influence. So I've usually got an idea what we're going to talk about. But as well as people sending in their questions to be asked directly, if I'm getting loads of questions on a very similar topic, like I know that is something people are really interested to hear about, so I can build a kind of longer section of that into the main sort of bulk of the chat of the podcast.
You've had some amazing guests. Who was I was looking at some of your trailers. Blair, you had, was that your most recent one?
Yes,
Blair?
It was Blair Imani, or I think she just recently got married. I think she might be Blair Imani Ali now. Hopefully I haven't got that wrong. Sorry if I have, Blair.
So I saw on the trailer for Blair's episode, and she was talking about don't just share something, click through and actually read the article. And furthermore, click through and read about who wrote that article and why they might have written that article and where their opinions might come from. I just thought that was really interesting. It's kind of so obvious, but I guess that's a really big part of your podcast, is like going further and not just being too loud in a noisy space or getting wrapped up in the noise, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope that's what we can try and do a bit with the podcast, because that is the thing. It's just there's so much information and so many different topics that we feel like we should be learning about all the time, and it can be quite overwhelming, which again is another reason that I wanted to start the podcast and kind of give people somewhere accessible to start, because I don't assume that people listening are already experts in the topics that we're talking about, because if nobody's presented it to you in a way that makes sense to you, maybe, or from that kind of accessible level, then you might not do. And no judgment from me, like we all have to learn things before we know them.
Yeah, for sure.
But Blair's episode is about online learning. So most people I think would probably know her from her video series Smarter in Seconds, and she does such an amazing job of that kind of bite-sized, very engaging, like often quite humorous sort of education online. But there's so much that then goes into it, and she's also trying to teach people about, critical thinking and media literacy and like things that, when especially the generations now that are growing up on social media, they don't know any different, and probably have had social media from the age of, well, at least 13, but like, let's be honest, sometimes it's before, even if it's not supposed to be. But I mean, me showing my age, but I was just about
social
media literally came in when I was, I think I think normal people who weren't from like a particular university were allowed to get on Facebook when I was like 16.
Okay.
So like for most of high school for me, like there just wasn't any social media. So I can very much remember it both ways, which I think now, obviously anyone who's even slightly younger than me, that's just not the case. And I just find that quite baffling. I sound like such a nana.
I remember I was at university, when Facebook was a thing. But before that, don't forget MySpace.
Oh, well, of
with
course.
Tom being one of your 1 of 8 friends that you had to have. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do very much. I think that's the only reason I know any kind of like vague HTML coding that I have got in the back like recesses of my brain now was trying to make my page a cool colour on MySpace.
Definitely. And what song you're gonna have? It's like, this is my moment to tell everyone who I am in this digital space.
Exactly.
Who I want, the friends I choose to show are my cool friends. The song I have. God, I've forgotten. I can't find your MySpace anymore. Mine doesn't exist.
I've not even looked for mine to be. I think I did several years ago and couldn't find it, to be fair. I don't know if it exists in quite the same way anymore.
No, it does. Because I used to have I used to sing a lot, and I used to have a music MySpace, and it's gone.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, I know. It is sad.
Mine would just be, pictures of me with a large fringe wearing lots of emo belts like that kind of stage, to be honest. Yeah.
From that angle. Was that your vibe?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, very much.
Okay, so actually, let's bring it back to the jewellery. What kind of jewellery were you wearing in that? Is that a cringe moment thinking back to the emo?
I am honestly not even embarrassed by it. I just wore lots of things with studs on and really loved it. Would still wear now.
Yeah?
To be honest.
What kind of jewellery are you talking there?
Silver.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Lots of it?
Yeah. Probably medium amounts.
I can imagine a few bangles were shaking around.
Do you know, I've never really been a bangle person, but I don't think I've got particularly small hands, but I've got oddly collapsible hands.
Okay.
So bangles just kind of fall off me quite a lot.
Okay.
So I'm not always a massive bracelet person, but yeah, rings and necklaces have always been my jam.
Amazing.
I've had my ears pierced since I was about 9 or 10 years old, I think, and I'd begged for so long for them. And then I wore earrings for probably a couple of years and only started wearing earrings again maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Really?
I just didn't use the holes in my ears for kind of 15 years or so, which was probably quite annoying. My mum being like, you begged for this, and now you've got holes in you for no reason.
Yeah. Were you wearing earrings today under those headphones?
Yes, I am. I've got
little gold hoops, I think.
Yeah, I've got these little huggy things on at the minute, which my auntie and uncle got me for my birthday a couple of years ago.
Good everyday pair. Talk to me about your career then. So before your podcast, which launched around lockdown, in lockdown, what were you doing before? Writing is your main jam before that?
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I've definitely got one of those like squiggly line kind of quite modern, very, I mean, to use the Emma Gannon term, very like multi-hyphenate kind of careers at the moment. But yeah, I definitely started more in writing, and then kind of just as social media became more of a thing, I've ended up working more in that space, kind of by accident, but also obviously more recently on purpose. So yeah, I feel like I've been really lucky to do a lot of different things, actually. Amazing. Like when I first moved to London and I'd finished uni, I was doing operations for a charity for a couple of years. And then, I ended up moving more into, I was writing a column on the side. And then as social media stuff took off more, I started working in that and left my quote unquote proper job. Yeah. And now I just always, just feel really lucky that I get to do really fun projects, but also I'm always trying to make something meaningful as part of them at the same time. So lucky, but also not taking it for granted, trying to do something good with it.
And one of your other projects is your sunglasses.
Yes, which I love.
Which we all love. And we did a little competition back in the summer. That was our most successful competition, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
It was really good.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. I love all the sunglasses. I'm always drawn to the orange ones, and maybe that's why I'm wearing an orange shirt today. I love all the orange ones you've got. Always
love a good collar combo.
How did that all come about?
So it kind of came about through kind of a personal relationship I'd built up with my friend Marissa, who works for Kenmark Eyewear, which is the company who I work with to make the sunglasses. And we'd got to know each other over sort of probably 2 or 3 years or so, and she would send me sunglasses. You know how these things work with the old PR world.
Yeah.
But I wear a lot of sunglasses, and I feel the same way about them as I kind of do about jewellery, to be honest.
Do
I've
you?
usually got sunglasses on me whether it's sunny or not.
Like today.
I mean, yeah, now I've had to put them on the table now because I had to put headphones on. But even, you know, I walked out the house in the fog and still had a pair of sunglasses on my head because I just feel a bit...
That's so funny.
It's like having rings on for me. I just feel a bit naked without them.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, because we talk a lot about jewellery being like our armour, and like earrings for my mum is something. She doesn't wear any makeup or anything like that. She's not particularly into fashion, but she got her ears pierced, I think, when she was about 37. And since then, she can't leave the house without earrings. That's her kind of thing.
Yeah.
So sunglasses is your thing.
I do feel like they are. I think it's partly maybe an anxiety thing. I mean, honestly, I feel like at this point I managed to bring anything back around to like, well, why does my brain do that? Because I always find it really interesting. But yeah, I think being able to put sunglasses on does just sometimes feel like you've got a bit of a lens between you and things, and you just hide a little bit.
A bit of a barrier.
Yeah, which I quite like.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I also like wearing rings for that purpose at the same time, in particular, because I am a very kind of like nervous hand fidgeter, and also I have ADHD, I now know. So
oh really? You now know?
Like, I'm super fidgety, and now I'm kind of like, oh okay, that kind of makes a bit more sense.
Right.
But I find rings really useful for that because I can just be playing with them all the time, and necklaces, to be fair. Yeah, I really enjoy jewellery for that sort of sensory element of it, and
definitely.
It's like, they get warm when they're on your hands, and it's just they do feel like they kind of become a bit of a part of you.
Yeah, I play with my rings all the time. And when I'm thinking, I'm sort of staring out the window, like, yeah, it's part of the process, part of the daily process.
Yeah, which I always have to try and remember not to do when I'm recording a podcast, because I end up sitting there clattering, and like my producer will be like, "Can you just stop like playing with that because you're making a noise?" Yeah. So I'm trying not to do that today, but also it's a jewellery podcast, so there you go.
Let's get loads of
ASMR.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get loads of noises. Before we dive into your pieces, why do you think jewellery is so important to people?
I mean, I think it's just another really great form of self-expression, to be honest. And I think in a slightly different way from clothes, because, you know, at least for most people, you end up wearing a lot more sort of a variety of clothing, like through the week and through the seasons and through the years, whereas jewellery is something that's quite constant if you want it to be, and I think it can make you feel like you've got something that's quite a classic sort of staple of you, and makes you feel like you know what your style is. And there's also, I think it's one of those things, it's very easy for it to be kind of like passed on, and it's I think a lot of people have their sort of family heirlooms that are jewellery, and it's quite often pieces that have got like sentimental reasons behind them, and I think that's really nice as well. And again, jewellery can just stay with you for longer. I think it can stay in families for longer. You know, if you change what size jeans you're wearing, you can probably still wear the same necklace, so it's all so it just carries on with you through life.
Yeah, unless you're like me. When I was pregnant, I ballooned up like the Nutty Professor, so I couldn't even wear necklaces. I was like, get it off me, I was too claustrophobic.
Oh God, yeah, that is annoying. I feel like that's that would be the thing. Like I had like quite a few of my friends have been pregnant over the last couple of years, and it gets to that point where it's like, oh, do I take my rings off now, or risk having to cut them off in a week if I leave it any longer?
It's a telltale sign if you see people wearing their rings on the chains. Yeah. Okay, let's dive into your significant pieces.
I can show you the oldest piece.
Yeah.
Is the ring that we have in this box, just for the benefit of the tape. It's in a box, which is a ring that was my great grandma's. So I mean, I actually don't know precisely how old it is, but it's a good couple of generations over and above me. Which I got when my grandma passed away, and I'd gone with my dad, and we were kind of like sorting things out in her house, which was, you know, it's a sad thing, but most people will end up kind of going through it eventually, and it ends up being quite a nice kind of walk down memory lane at the same time. So to kind of manage to take, that sounds terrible, but manage to find those kind of like heirloom pieces that make you feel quite connected. I also have, which I don't have on today because it isn't working. I need to figure it out still. But I have my nan's like vintage Casio watch. Amazing. Which I always end up wearing like Casio. I've got a gold one on, but I've had a silver one that I wore for years, and it was a really similar one that she'd had for donkeys. So much so that I am struggling to find someone who still makes a battery that will fit it. That's my that's a bit of a crusade at the moment.
So let me see. So it's got, I'm guessing that's the diamond in the middle, and maybe sapphires on the edge.
I actually don't know. I could maybe guess, but yeah, it's white in the centre and blue around the outside, and that's as much as I know about it.
A very classic setting.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit it's a little bit kind of Kate Middleton's engagement ring as well.
In reverse.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
The kind of blue and white stones.
Gorgeous.
So it obviously makes me feel fancy like a princess.
And how is that kind of go-to piece? Is that just like a special occasion piece?
I feel like I wear it less often. Yeah. I do wear it, and I have another one as well that was my great grandma's, which is a very different style. It's a silver, quite sort of Art Deco kind of style, which I love. So yeah, I wear them both quite often, but I feel like I do end up having to mix rings in and out of rotation because I do have so many that I really love, and I end up not having enough fingers for them, or they all, I feel like that's the annoying thing when you end up having rings that will only fit on one particular finger because they're the right size. So you have to make choices at some point.
Definitely. Okay, next piece.
What should we go for next? Okay, well, let's stay on rings.
Stay on the rings. You've got lots of them.
Yeah, I've got lots on, always. This eye ring that I wear all the time, which I feel like, I don't know, there's no like significant story behind it really, other than the fact that I just feel like a real connection to it. And I think it's also one of those that, because I wear it all the time, I think it's recognisably mine now, which I really enjoy.
It's your armour. It's again, like I think that's really interesting that it is one of the pieces that you just gravitate to every single day.
Yeah, and I couldn't even tell you specifically why.
Do you remember where you were when you bought it?
So I remember I got it from a jewellery brand that's based in Manchester, which I also quite like because that's, the part of the country that I'm from. So I feel like it's a nice kind of little northern connection at the same time. If I haven't got it on, and that one specifically, even if I've got less rings on, like if I'm going to put one on, it's that one.
Really?
Yeah, which I feel like is always quite a fun marker of like how much something means to you.
Definitely. And there's another huge marker of a ring on your finger as well.
Yes, this is Claude.
Claude
is a snail.
So Gemma is wearing a silver, quite large snail ring on her ring finger, and I love it.
My boyfriend got him for me, and we named him Claude collectively. And he's definitely one of those where I sit and mess with it all the time. His little, they're not actually called antenna on a snail, probably, are they? But his little eye stalks, whatever you want to call them, are really good little fiddly pieces.
Nice.
So. But I do have to be quite careful if I'm, I'm a big knitwear lover as well. So if I'm already wearing Claude and go to put a jumper on,
he's going to love catching
carnage.
On. Yeah.
So I have to be quite careful in that respect.
I love him.
He's good, isn't he? He's got his little leaves and his little flowers.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Okay, so that's Claude. So we've done 3 rings. Should we move on to a necklace?
Yes, why not?
And you've told me about this necklace before. So for the listeners out there, we've got a necklace on a beautiful chain and a gold disc, and it's got some engraving, hasn't it?
Yeah, so this one is, this is a necklace that's definitely on my kind of like daily rotation of things. If I'm going to be wearing one necklace, it's probably this one. But yeah, it's kind of like a hammered gold, kind of wonky, like nice disc sort of shape. But yeah, it's got Good Influence engraved on the back, which is the name of the podcast. Take it nice and back to there. But some of my best friends got that for me for my 30th birthday, which was about a month or so after I launched the podcast.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was quite early in the lifetime of Good Influence, the podcast. But yeah, I love that necklace.
I like how it's kind of one of your go-to pieces every day. Do you find yourself just like playing with it?
Yeah, I really do. Yeah, that is one of the ones. I think especially because it's got that kind of
organic
hammered sort of surface to it. It's not really flat, so it's a nice one to play with. But again, it's kind of like how I was talking about with the T-bar. It's quite round, but it's also got that like little bit of unusual sort of texture and shape to it, so it's a bit of something different to kind of put in a stack. Yeah, if I'm wearing one necklace on its own, it's this one, but if I'm wearing a stack, it's usually in there.
Actually, I saw you wearing him with the pearl necklace from Daisy.
Yes,
on the bubble chain.
Yeah, I wore that one the other day with another pearl necklace as well. And again, that was like, it was really nice to tie into like, it was like a string of pearls, but then having one with the gold and it all ties in nicely.
Nice.
I do love crafting a stack.
Yeah.
It's good fun.
Well, should we stick with the neck? What have you got? What other piece have you got around your neck?
Yes, the other necklace that I've got on, actually, did I also... Yeah, I think this was also for my 30th birthday. I feel like I've got, I do, a lot of the pieces that I end up wearing all the time are quite sort of like significant ones.
Well, jewellery is it's a good go-to gift for those significant birthdays, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, this one was from my mum, which is, and I mean, obviously I love it because it's from my mum anyway, but I particularly like, it was a recycled gold and it's got a lab-grown diamond on it, which I really like because I feel like it's one of those things where I end up talking about sustainability a lot now, like both through work and just in life because I'm personally interested. But it's one of those things where I feel like people think sustainability is all people kind of shouting about, you should do this and you should do that, but actually I think one of the nicest and kind of most organic ways that you end up sort of spreading those messages kind of accidentally on purpose is just by talking about it and things that you find interesting and things that you personally have done or have found really valuable. So I thought that was obviously, my mum had specifically found something that she felt like kind of really aligned with who I am as a person. So I think that was like a nice part to it as well.
And again, for the listeners, Gemma's wearing a teeny tiny diamond. And I love how the chain is quite short. So whatever neckline you're wearing, you just get this tiny little glint.
Yeah,
which
and
is really pretty.
Sits like right in that little, whatever that little denty bit's called in the middle of your neck.
I don't know, actually.
It feels like it kind of like, nestles in quite nicely.
It's really nice. Any other pieces?
I mean, I've got quite a variety on. I have got some bracelets on today. I'd say bracelets are my lesser worn pieces, but I've got this crystal bracelet on, which is a Choose Love charity bracelet collaboration, which I think was from T Balance, who do a lot of crystal bracelets, but this is rose quartz, if I'm not mistaken, which, and I mean, as I said, I don't know a lot about crystals and that kind of thing, but I know that is love related.
It is.
And Choose Love, the charity, is all about as a refugee charity and kind of humanitarian aid and kind of showing love to people in that kind of way. So
they do such a good
nice
job.
One.
And that was when you were working in the shop, did you say, last year?
Yeah, I got this one. Yeah, on the day I went, I did a couple of days, a couple of sessions, I think, last year actually. But yeah, their Choose Love shop is open again this Christmas on, I think it's just around the corner from Carnaby Street this year. And yeah, you basically go in and they have a lot of physical items that you can look at. Yeah. But you pay for and kind of buy those items, and you don't take anything away with you. You buy those things to be donated directly to people when and where they need them. Yeah. And it's really lovely. And they've got, if you are doing Christmas shopping, they've got all sorts of, gift cards and gift, messages that you can say, I donated this on your behalf, and you have paid for a child's education while they're in a refugee camp, or you've paid for
a sleeping bag.
Yeah, exactly, like warm coats
water
over the winter and all that kind of thing. So yeah, they are. That shop's open right up till Christmas. So
amazing.
If that's would definitely recommend. I'll be doing some Christmas shopping there this year, and probably working the tills again for a bit. So.
Okay. So we'll find Gemma down there. We'll come and see you.
Come find me.
Amazing. Thank you, Gemma. Your significant pieces. I love them. My favourite one, I don't know, actually. I think it's got to be Claude.
Got to be Claude. This is the thing. Quite a variety in that list, but Claude's got a good little personality.
He's got some character. He's got some character. You're an ambassador for MQ, which are a mental health research organisation. How did that come about? How long have you been an ambassador for them?
I think I've only officially been an ambassador for them since, I want to say last year, but I've kind of worked with them or donated to them on and off for quite some time. Mental health is something that I talk about quite a lot in various kind of like guises, whether that is on the podcast or just through my own kind of experience. So when I've done different projects before, like sunglasses, for example, I always try and add an element in there where we're kind of making donations to a charity, and they are just a charity that I really love, and kind of really love the work that they do. There are a lot of different mental health charities, all who do amazing things, but the thing that speaks to me about MQ is that they are a research-based charity. So while there is obviously a great need for kind of support and resources in that kind of way that a lot of other charities do a brilliant job at, I like the fact that they do research, because it kind of does. I've got like a wee bit of a scientific background, and have always been interested in it, but I am really one of those people who likes to understand why things happen. And when I've had you know, various things occurring in my own mental health, I do always wish that there was a bit more, you know, of that understanding, and I wish I knew more about why and kind of how my brain works and how other people's brains work and all the rest of it. So, and yeah, they do really great work in actually trying to figure out the whys and the hows of how things happen, and also just doing research that lets us know more about what kind of support is actually the most kind of data-backed beneficial for different people. So it means that the other different resources are being used in the best way possible, and we all know that they're, you know, stretched quite thin on mental health resources. So yeah, I really like the work that they do.
Amazing. And I know you mentioned that you talk about mental health quite a lot. Can you think of, and obviously you have quite a few conversations with different people on your podcast, can you think of what's the best piece of advice, or maybe there's one of the best piece of advice that maybe you've been given? Because I've been talking a lot to my friends about it recently, where I've just been feeling like I can't go on spinning 100 plates.
Yeah.
And one of my friends has said, you've got to get better at setting those boundaries. You've got to get better at saying no and not trying to be everything to everyone. And boundaries is something that's I find hard to set.
This is the thing, and it's quite interesting how mental health plays into all of the different kind of areas of our lives and all the rest of it. Did a podcast episode a while ago actually on boundaries with Michelle Elman, who's great for talking about that. So yeah, if you're one of those people who is always doing too many things for other people and finds it hard to say no and kind of set those boundaries, I'd recommend that you could listen to that episode or give her a follow and have a look. I think in terms of advice, I find it quite difficult to kind of boil it down to one thing in the sort of mental health arena, because I think we are all very different, and what other people need in terms of their own mental health, like we're just not all the same to follow the same advice. I think a kind of learning, I guess, is not trying to battle against your own mental health so much. I think and I've definitely had a tendency to do this, where you can sort of feel that things are going a certain way. I think denying it and trying to be like, no, it's fine, I can get through this, this isn't going to happen, we'll just push it away and not think about it and it'll all be fine, rarely tends to work. So I think not fighting against it sometimes just means you just have to have a bit of a blanket on the sofa day if you have that option available to you. But yeah, also just trying to work with your brain rather than punishing yourself for feeling bad, because I think eventually you'll get to the point where you can't keep doing that and you have to do something about it and do something for yourself rather than like it's a punishment. So if you can kind of just try and get past that stage as quickly as possible, like these things just, there's so many different reasons and different medical conditions and all of these things that feed into different mental health issues, but it's never your fault. So that as quick as you can get past the point of being like, well, why am I like this and why is this happening? You don't know all the time. So if you can, beat yourself up as little as possible, as hard as that can be sometimes, that's what I would tend to tell people.
That's good. Yeah, it's so true. Actually listening to it rather than just like trying to override what your brain is trying to tell you, like, no, I can handle this. Yeah,
exactly. Or, it depends what it is. It's like depression, for example, which I've got quite a history of. It's one of those things where it also tends to be that voice in your head that says, well, you shouldn't be struggling with this, or like, why do you think you deserve this, or just a real negative thing. But it can strike anyone at different times, and I think it's one of those things where you can sit there and be like, but this part of my life's really good and this is good, and like I've got this amount of privilege and I shouldn't be feeling like this, and there are other people who are so much worse off, and it just doesn't really work like that. unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or, you know, not unfortunately, it just doesn't work like
Doesn't
that.
work like that. Yeah. Take a step back and breathe is a good one. Okay, so I can imagine that every day is different for you. Talk me through your routine. Are you quite a stickler for a routine? And in your routine, where does jewellery come into it?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a stickler for a routine.
Yeah.
But I think I've just got very few things that tend to be the same, and it's basically just getting out of bed, to be honest. So usually
It's a good start.
Yeah. My waking up in the morning routine, and this is not a good one, but I do tend to reach straight for my phone.
Yeah, don't we all?
But what I will say is now I tend not to go straight on social media in the mornings, but I'm really addicted to the New York Times crossword.
I thought you were going to say something like that.
So that's what I tend to try and start doing first thing in the morning.
Yeah, get the brain going.
Like little word games and stuff on that. So it's good. I try and do that rather than going straight on social media. So I do a bit of that in bed. I'm definitely not an alarm goes off, feet on the floor kind of person. I like to be in bed for a little bit awake. And then, get up, make a cup of tea. And I've started doing that thing, the sort of life hack thing that people tell you to do with the like habit stacking. Because I've already got the habit of making a cup of tea. So now I try and take my like vitamins and such
nice.
at that same time in the morning. But that's kind of my only sort of non-negotiable at the moment, really. That's the thing I love about working in a kind of project-based way and that sort of freelance, choose your own hours, be doing, you know, you'll be working on stuff that's going to come out in a while, and then you've got stuff that's happening now, and it's all different all the time, which I think tends to work quite well for me.
Good.
Because, I can bounce around different things depending on what my attention feels like working on that day, or if I feel like doing something creative, or if I don't feel like I've got the brain space for it. There's always, you know, admin, email-y kind of things to do that everyone has to do all the time. So, I like my job in that respect. It gives me that amount of freedom.
That's great.
But I also think I've ended up crafting my life that way because that's what my brain needed.
Sure.
So it's ended up moving towards that sort of naturally, because that's kind of how I have to work, because some days brain says no on certain things.
Definitely. And is jewellery's a part of it every day, or do you have some days where you just go, do you know what, I'm not going out anywhere, so I'm not going to bother putting anything on?
I feel like, I mean, like as you were saying, jewellery is kind of armour. I don't really wear jewellery in the house very much.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so unless it's like I've got little huggy earrings on that you don't have to take off. Yeah. So like they might be in for quite a long time sort of thing. Yeah, it's an easy one.
Yeah.
But if I'm leaving the house, it tends to be jewellery will be like the last thing I put on before I leave the house, and then I feel like I'm going out the door and I'm sort of set and ready for the day. Or even, you know, if I'm recording a podcast at home in my living room. I mean, I'm a bit of a gesticulator anyway, so I will, tend to put some jewellery on then. But I think it does take me from kind of at home on my own to being out and talking to people and working kind of mode.
Nice. Love that. Christmas is fast approaching.
Don't remind
me. I know. Have you done any Christmas shopping?
No.
No.
But saying that, by the time this goes out, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you've completed it.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Won't be the case.
What is on your Christmas wish list, non-Daisy or Daisy?
Jewellery-wise, I'm in the market for kind of, I mean, I know I just said I'm wearing like little, like huggy gold hoops, but I'm looking for some slightly bigger ones, I think. Not massive ones, but slightly bigger ones.
Okay.
Would be on the wish list for me.
Some midi hoops.
Yes.
We can sort you out.
Oh,
I've got just the thing.
Great.
I can send you some midi hoops.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'll send you plenty of midi hoops.
Oh, well, I'm glad I came now. Thank you.
And anything non-Daisy. You've already told me off air all about your air fryer.
Oh, yeah. I don't need one of those now. Just got a nice second-hand one of those off my bum. Loving it. What else? I don't know. Don't really feel like there's much that I need at the moment. I've always got like a good second-hand wish list going on.
Have you?
Maybe, I feel like I'll probably just end up saying to people, can I just send you a link for this thing that I want? Yeah.
Fine. I always find it's after Christmas when I'm like, damn it, I should have asked for that. I needed that, I needed that, or money towards that.
Yeah, we definitely get to this time of year and it's me and so my boyfriend's end of November birthday, I'm beginning of December, and then it's Christmas. So once it gets into this like latter part of the year, like, don't buy anything for yourself. And
Yeah.
he's like, don't buy anything.
Just
for
tell
yourself.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Definitely. Okay. We are going to end on some incredibly intense quick fire questions.
Oh, good God. Okay.
But before we do, Gemma is going to have chosen 12 pieces to be in a shoppable edit, which you can get 20% off. And what should the code be, Gemma? Pick a code.
Well, let's go really creative with Gemma 20.
Whoa. You wouldn't have guessed that. Easy to
I'll
remember.
It then. There you go.
Fine. So on Gemma's shoppable edit, you can get 20% off the 12 pieces, which will probably include the SAT bar.
Yeah.
Probably the pearl necklace.
Probably, yeah.
Probably this ring that you were eyeing up off air as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You quite like that.
Yeah. That might also go on my Christmas,
Christmas wish list. And maybe some midi hoops.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll build those out.
Coming
Okay,
together.
so quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
Silver or gold?
Gold.
It used to be silver.
Did used to be silver, yeah. I mean, I can't claim credit for that, really. I feel like that's just where trends have gone in recent years.
Yeah, I think we all were as well. Huggies or hoops?
Huggies.
Chunky or delicate?
Mixture of both.
Good answer. Clothes or jewellery?
Clothes?
Oh, wrong podcast.
Well, I don't know.
I'm
But to
kidding.
be fair, maybe I just imagined that as in you can only wear one or the other, and I'd definitely rather be wearing clothes.
That's true. One piece you'd save in a fire?
My great-grandma's stuff.
Nice. And I'll never leave the house without?
My phone. Boring but true.
It's the answer every time.
Yeah.
Do you know what? You mentioned something earlier on. Oh, the ring. I thought you might at least say the ring that you can't ever leave the house without.
Well, I know, but
it's really the phone, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Which we all should be.
No one likes a liar.
Exactly. I could lie to you, but I won't. It's my phone.
Gemma, it's been so nice having you.
Thank you for having me. It's been delightful.
Thank you for joining me. Have a lovely Christmas.
You too.
Quickly, before we go, what have you got coming up?
Good Influence Season 4.
Yes.
Podcast. Yeah, is the latest. So yeah, if you want to very gently learn about some nice different issues from a lot of lovely Good Influence charming experts, then yeah, come on over, podcast fans. We'd love to have you.
After listening to Homegrown Daisy.
Of course.
Amazing. Gemma, it's been so nice having you. Thank you for joining us. And we will speak again very soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.